I walk into the crowded living room, and immediately the weight of every judging eye pins me to the floor. My stomach twists, a mix of dread and fury coursing through me. There she is, my Aunty Grace, standing stiff, shoulders squared but trembling, forced into an apology she doesn't mean. Her hands shake just enough for everyone to notice, yet her spine refuses to bend entirely. Karen's face cuts through the tension like a knife, the neighbor who orchestrated this entire humiliation. Her lips curl into a smug sneer, eyes glinting with the satisfaction of cruelty. Someone whispers behind me, "She should know her place," and laughter slices through the room like shattered glass. I notice the subtle smirks of family members who chose silence over justice, their betrayal stinging sharper than Karen's words. Grace opens her mouth, her voice cracking as she says, "I'm sorry," but her eyes, oh, her eyes, flash a fury so silent, so potent that it makes the air tremble. A visceral surge of anger burns through me. My chest tightens, palms sweat uncontrollably. The room smells of stale coffee and perfume, a grotesque backdrop to this calculated betrayal. I replay the incident in my mind over and over. How quickly the rumors spread, how expertly truth was twisted into a weapon against her. My heart pounds with a vow I whisper only to myself. This will not stand. A waiter stumbles, a tray of drinks crashing to the floor, the clatter punctuating the tension as if the universe itself is marking the injustice. Grace's dignity lies in ruins before us, yet beneath that wreckage I sense an ember of her strength smoldering, ready to ignite. I notice a cousin holding a camera phone, recording every second of her apology. The humiliation is being amplified, every frame destined for judgment, for ridicule online. I feel the sting of helplessness, but beneath it, a strategic calm begins to form, a silent promise that this injustice will not go unanswered. Grace's hands clench at her sides, knuckles white with controlled rage. The room shrinks around her, suffocating, every insult, every whisper amplified to a deafening roar. I make a mental note of each slight, each smirk, each word thrown like a dagger. None of this will be forgotten. None of it will escape reckoning. This is not just an apology. This is the moment where humiliation and strength collide, where patience meets fury, and where the first ember of revenge quietly begins to glow. I can still feel the sting of that day, but my mind drifts back to who Grace really is. Long before the betrayal, long before anyone forced her to apologize for something she never did, she worked tirelessly in that small-town office, quietly defying expectations, refusing to be boxed in by stereotypes or whispered doubts. Every spreadsheet, every meeting, every polite nod hid a woman who refused to bow. She raised me when our parents were absent, sacrificing her own comfort, her own desires, just to make sure I had a semblance of normalcy. I remember nights when nightmares dragged me awake, and she stayed up beside me, her hand on my shoulder, murmuring calming words. Never once did she complain about her own exhaustion, her own silent battles. Her kindness was always misread, always taken for granted. Bossy, they called her. Meddling, they whispered behind her back. But those labels could never capture the quiet strength she carried. Even in childhood, betrayal found her, a friend who spread lies, planting seeds of doubt that would sprout in unexpected ways years later. And yet, she endured. Layer by layer, she built a fortress of resilience that only now, after witnessing the humiliation, I fully appreciate. I remember family dinners where her opinions were drowned out by louder, more arrogant voices, and she would simply smile, nod, and let them speak, swallowing frustration with grace. She faced microaggressions at work, at school events, even in casual neighborhood encounters, and never let them see her break. The deepest cut came from a trusted family member who misrepresented her intentions just to protect themselves. I see it now. The tension between her public composure and the private pain etched into her face, the hidden trauma that no one noticed. Grace's dreams, the small ones she whispered to me late at night, were often postponed or abandoned entirely. She sacrificed her own happiness for others, and the world never paused to see it. Yet she taught me resilience in the quietest of ways, whispering, "Never let them see you break, but always plan your comeback." This forced apology, this orchestrated humiliation, was not an isolated incident. It echoed every betrayal, every ignored injustice, every invisible wound she had carried for decades. And I feel it, the surge of protective rage, a desire to channel all past pain, every injustice into exposing the truth and reclaiming her dignity. I know now that this moment, this cruelty, is not the end. It is the spark that will ignite the truth, that will set the stage for the reckoning that has long been waiting. Every memory of Grace's endurance fuels the plan forming in my mind, and I can feel it taking shape. Calculated, patient, unstoppable. I start documenting everything, the twisted facts, the half-truths, the outright lies that forced Grace into that false apology. Every detail, every manipulated word becomes part of a meticulous record. I set up hidden recordings, capturing Karen's conversations, her subtle admissions, the way she smirks when she thinks no one notices. Each confession she lets slip is another brick in the case we're building. Family members start taking sides. Some quietly align with us, their whispers and subtle nods hinting at allegiance. Others double down, amplifying the humiliation, oblivious that the walls are closing in. Social media posts explode, misrepresenting Grace even further. I can feel my anger coiling, sharpening with every distorted comment and cruel meme. I trace every thread online, mapping the network of gossip, lies, and betrayal, seeing exactly how far the deception spreads. Grace refuses to be passive. She drops hints of her own strategies, her quiet cunning shining through. I watch her in awe, realizing this is the Grace I underestimated, the one who has been quietly planning her own reckoning. Then I intercept a crucial email. It's a roadmap of the orchestrator's next moves, a blueprint they believe is secret. Every word is a confirmation of their manipulation, every line a guide to dismantling their control. Tension climbs as Grace faces open confrontation from those who forced her apology. They expect weakness, but she holds her ground, calm, precise, unshakable. I notice the subtle cracks in their credibility, the mistakes they didn't know they were making, the tiny inconsistencies that will unravel their entire facade. A friend provides legal insight, hinting at ways to publicly challenge the false narrative, ways to turn evidence into undeniable justice. I compile everything, emotional storytelling intertwined with concrete proof, a combination designed to strike at both hearts and logic. Whispers of our counterplan start circulating, invisible yet potent, creating a quiet unease among those who thought they were untouchable. Grace trains her composure like a weapon, practicing the small gestures, the perfect pauses, the inflection in her voice that will command attention. I feel the first stirrings of fear in our adversaries. They miscalculated her patience, underestimated her intelligence. The tension crescendos at a family gathering. Karen subtly mocks Grace, unaware that every move, every word has been meticulously documented. Grace remains calm, each measured glance and composed breath sharpening her psychological edge. I feel the storm building, the anticipation of the revelation that will hit them with the full force of truth. Late one night, I receive a confidential tip. Small, almost casual, but explosive in its implication. It confirms everything we suspected about Karen's manipulation, every lie, every calculated move to humiliate Grace. My pulse quickens, validation mixes with the simmering anger that has been building for weeks. Grace finds me soon after, slipping into the room like a shadow. Our conversation is whispered, urgent, full of strategy and a silent rage that simmers beneath her calm tone. Every word she speaks carries the weight of years of hidden endurance, and I feel the first spark of real power forming. A crucial phone call from a distant cousin follows, bringing with it documentation of the original false claim. The chain of deceit becomes undeniable. Every misrepresentation, every rumor, laid bare in black and white. I sense a subtle shift in energy, a power imbalance beginning to tip. Those who forced Grace into that apology are now quietly paranoid, unaware of the preparation already underway. Grace begins planning a controlled public revelation. Her goal is precise: expose the lies without losing a shred of composure, reveal the truth without giving them a single chance to manipulate it. We identify the perfect opportunity: a community meeting where the orchestrators will speak publicly, confident in their supposed authority. She rehearses every line meticulously, her voice measured, her gestures deliberate. I watch her eyes sparkle with restrained vindication, the transformation from humiliation to empowerment almost tangible. Allies begin signaling support discreetly, subtle nods and quiet positioning, strengthening our stance before the confrontation even begins. The turning point solidifies when Grace makes the choice to face Karen directly. Fear will not dictate her actions, humiliation will not define her. A hidden document surfaces, revealing a chain of emails that prove premeditation, exposing intent to humiliate her. I see it. The adversaries sensing a shift, their overconfidence cracking under the weight of our silent preparation. Every heartbeat syncs with the impending showdown, every nerve stretched taut with anticipation. Grace stands poised, calm authority radiating from her, in sharp contrast to the nervousness flickering across the faces of those who forced her apology. This is the moment when the tide begins to turn, and justice, long delayed, is finally within reach. Grace steps up to the community hall podium, and instantly the chatter hushes. The room is packed, neighbors, family, witnesses, all eyes fixed on her. I hover at the side, camera ready, heart hammering in my chest as she takes a slow, deliberate breath and begins to speak. Her voice is calm, measured, yet every word carries a weight that demands attention. She lays out Karen's manipulations, presenting emails and recordings as irrefutable evidence. Gasps ripple through the audience, the orchestrators' faces drain of color under the scrutiny. Grace recounts the emotional toll of the false accusations, each sentence heavy with truth, each pause a reminder of the pain she silently endured. She references decades of endurance, connecting the small betrayals and whispered doubts to the present revelation, showing the full picture of her resilience. Karen opens her mouth to interrupt, but Grace doesn't flinch. Her presence silences her completely, a commanding force of dignity that fills the hall. The community reacts, some visibly shocked, some murmuring behind hands, others shamefaced, realizing how they misjudged her. Legal advisors in the room nod subtly, confirming the validity of the evidence, hinting at consequences for the deception and manipulation. I capture every moment, the raw mixture of humiliation, shock, and vindication so palpable it almost vibrates in the air. Grace unveils subtle personal betrayals, exposing hidden motives with precise timing, dismantling the carefully constructed facades of the orchestrators. Their composure falters, lies unraveling under the weight of undeniable proof. Applause erupts, punctuated with murmurs of disbelief as Grace steps down from the podium, composed, triumphant. I feel a surge of pride witnessing her reclaim power and dignity in front of every single person who ever doubted her. The emotional intensity peaks as she confronts the silent doubters, forcing acknowledgement without a word wasted. Footage begins circulating online, capturing her vindication, the moment going viral, the truth unmissable. Grace smiles subtly, quietly victorious, the elegance of her revenge clear. No rage, only precise, undeniable justice. Every eye in the room knows She has won, and the humiliation that once clung to hers is finally, irrevocably gone. Silence settles over the aftermath like a heavy curtain. Our adversaries retreat quietly, their credibility shattered, leaving only the echoes of their failed manipulation. Grace receives heartfelt apologies from family members who had stayed silent before, their words tentative but sincere, acknowledging the truth they once ignored. The community's respect shifts, returning to her in full force. Neighbors approach with admiration rather than judgment, their expressions tinged with awe at her composure and strength. Karen attempts damage control, but her efforts are transparent, clumsy, and entirely ineffective. Legal consequences loom over the false accusations, ensuring that justice extends beyond public vindication, reaching the realm of accountability. Grace and I sit together, reviewing every piece of evidence once more, confirming that nothing is left ambiguous, that every detail has been documented to perfection. Emotional healing begins slowly. Grace finally speaks openly about years of hidden pain, the burden she carried silently. I feel the weight of relief, knowing that truth has finally triumphed over lies. Family dynamics shift. New allies emerge, while those who doubted her either reconcile or remain exposed, their positions altered irrevocably. Grace's dignity, once publicly attacked, is now solidified, her strength recognized universally, admired silently by those who once mocked her. I sense closure in the air, a quiet triumph replacing months of tension, fear, and uncertainty. The community begins to reflect, perhaps for the first time, on the consequences of gossip, manipulation, and blind judgment. Grace returns to her daily life with a newfound confidence, moving with a silent promise of resilience, a subtle power that radiates without effort. I capture these moments in quiet observation, small smiles, relaxed posture, the regained control that speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. She is whole again, and the storm of humiliation has transformed into a calm victory that no one can take away. I turn to the camera, my voice calm but heavy with raw emotion. Every word carries the weight of what we endured, every pause a testament to the tension and triumph that followed. I reflect on the power of truth, the strength found in resilience, and the quiet endurance that carries you through even the darkest moments. I recount the emotional journey, the humiliation, the pain, the meticulous planning, and finally, the ultimate vindication. I highlight Grace's strategic calm, how her dignity became a weapon far stronger than any rage, how patience and intelligence can dismantle lies more effectively than anger ever could. Revenge, I say, doesn't require cruelty. Justice executed with intelligence is the most powerful form of retribution. I connect directly with the viewers. If you've ever been wronged, remember, your dignity is your ultimate tool. I show subtle behind-the-scenes moments, the quiet preparation, the personal reflections that humanize this story, letting viewers see the careful orchestration that led to justice. I urge the audience to recognize the importance of standing up for truth in calculated, deliberate ways, to fight with patience and strategy rather than impulsive reaction. I provide a reflective closing. Humiliation can't last forever. The truth always finds its moment. I hint at future stories, teasing more real-life accounts of resilience and empowerment, inviting the audience to stay engaged, to learn from every hidden struggle turned into triumph. The camera follows Grace as she walks away, composed and victorious, her smile quiet but unforgettable. The closing frame lingers on her eyes, a mixture of triumph, relief, and unshakable strength, an image that speaks louder than words. I invite viewers to subscribe, share their own experiences, and engage with the story's lessons, leaving them with the resonant truth. Patience, dignity, and strategy can turn the darkest humiliation into undeniable victory.